All right. Good morning, everyone. And thank you so much for joining us all here today. Today's shiur should be Le'ilu Nishmas, our dear friend Menachem ben Yisrael Yaakov, as well as my dear aunt Rivka Bas Gavril Tzvi, and for Zaidi, Reb Shmuel ben Yosef Dov HaKohen, B'schus the Refuah Shalema Bekarov, Mishalom ben Sarachel, Miriam Basara, and Yair Yeshia ben Chaya Atara. Today, we are on page 185 in the Ora Vigdor, for those who are following along. And today, we are going to be finishing up the portion, this subject of choosing a profession and how to go about your day when you're in a profession as a Baal B'tachon, how that works, whether it's doing good, whether it's not doing so great, how to carry yourself on your day-to-day. And we started talking a little bit about yesterday. We're talking about whether you work in an office or you work outside as on the field, what a salesperson, whatever it might be. The idea over here we need to understand is that at the end of the day, when we are doing our hishtadlus, i.e., we're doing work, we're going out to work to earn a livelihood. The concept and what we need to find super important and always remember is that we are always doing this because that is what God asked of us to do. Hashem asked us to go to work. Hashem asked us to do our hishtadlus. And so regardless of the outcome, whether you're doing phenomenal, whether you're not doing so great in your business or your job or whatever it is that you're doing, even though the outcome that you think that you would like the outcome to be hasn't been reached, you're being mekayim the mitzvah of Hashem's will. He asked us to go out and do work and do your hishtadlus, and that's what you're doing. So at the end of the day, it has to be very clear that don't fall apart and say, oh, I haven't reached my goal. You're reaching your goal. Your goal is to do your part, and we know, and as we're going to learn later on, and we have learned already in Shaar Habitachon, that the outcome is never up to you. Your brains, your physical ability, nothing is up to you. That's not going to make you rich. It's not going to earn you the desired outcome. It's not going to put you, first place at the podium in the Olympics. It doesn't matter. It's not up to you. You are only responsible for doing your part. And that's what part over here where we need to really understand is that when you are doing your part, all you need to do is have in mind, I'm doing this L'Shem Shemayim. That's all you need to do. And you being mekayim that mitzvah. And he goes on to say over here, he says, when he is occupied mentally and physically in earning a living, he should bear in mind that he's thereby fulfilling the command of Hashem, who directed that man should be engaged in worldly pursuits to earn his livelihood, such as working on the soil, plowing it and planting it. It says in Bereshis, Hashem took the man, Gan Eden, and put him into the Garden of Eden, put him into Gan Eden, to work it and guard it. That's why Hashem created us. At the end of the day, when you go out and you do work, regardless of the outcome, no matter how much or how little you make, you are fulfilling a decree from Hashem, and you're being mekayim that mitzvah. And he says, even though Adam's responsibility in Gan Eden, in the Garden of Eden over here, not in Shemayim, but over here, required only minimal work, but he still had things he needed to do. At the end of the day, every single person still has something he needs to do. Maybe he has a very big job, a lot of responsibility, he works 18 hours a day, right? Or he has something that, he clocks in, clocks out, does 4-hour shifts or whatever. Whatever it is, you are responsible to do your hishtadlus, and that's the point that he's making over here. And then he goes on to say, to utilize other living creatures as well. He says, when we're in this world, we have a lot of things that are given to us, right? Hashem put in this world for mankind to use and to appreciate. He says, B'toyalasa, for all his needs. Hashem put animals in this world, all living creatures on this world, B'toyalasa, for all his needs, and sustenance, and to build cities, and preparing food. that those people who are building cities are fulfilling the will of Hashem. Also, he says that the people who collect taxes to be able to provide, to build these streets and these roads, are also fulfilling the will of Hashem. Hashem wanted this world to be developed. And so yes, when they collect taxes, they're taking that money and they're putting it into infrastructure. That's what's happening, right? Maybe they're lining the pockets as well. I don't know. But the point is, they are building and they're doing stuff what Hashem wanted. And that's what Hashem intended from the beginning. And Hashem commanded man also to marry and have children, right? So a person should always have in mind, whenever they're doing something that Hashem commanded, think about it for a second. You're going to enjoy it. You're going to enjoy eating the fruit. Hopefully you're going to have a beautiful family. But think for a second, that you're doing this to be Mekayim, the mitzvah that Hashem commanded man to purvu, Hashem commanded man to eat, to appreciate. You know, if you're a host, you invite people over to your home, the worst thing a guest can do is not eat the food that you slaved over, right? You're doing the host a favor, that eating their food, and even better, obviously, if you're really enjoying it and you give them a compliment. But right, the worst thing you can do is they prepare this lavish Suda, and you sit down and you're not eating. Oh, I'm on a diet. I don't eat that, right? And you're really doing them a disservice, and they don't appreciate it. Hashem wants you to enjoy this world. He put it here for us. And so by you eating this fruit, you're making a bracha, you have in mind, you're doing this not for your enjoyment. Yes, you're going to enjoy it anyway, but have in mind you're doing this because Hashem asked you to do it. Hashem wants you to eat this fruit. And he says over here, also working with the right intent, he goes on. By doing this, he will be rewarded because of his intent in his heart and in his mind to do the things that for the sake of Hashem. So whether or not he carries out his own desire, meaning he has his outcome, it says in Tehillim, if you eat the fruit of your labor, of your hands, you will be happy and it will be well with you. You will be happy in both a spiritual sense and a physical sense at the end of the day. When we do things that we are doing it not because we want it, not because this is what we want at the end of the day, but we're doing this because Hashem commanded us, it becomes very, very different. Rav Av also says over here towards the end, he brings out a point. He brings out a point that people, they go and they work fields, right? It's very difficult when you're in a line of work that doesn't produce an income right away. Say sales, right? If you're in a sales position and you're going after a new client, that sales cycle could take a year, it could take longer, it could take shorter, whatever it is. And so when you go out every single day, you're not thinking about it. You think about, oh, you got to go out again, make more calls, go to more offices. And at the end of the day, Baruch Hashem, you close a new client and you get that reward for that, right? You make that income. And at that time, what do you attribute that income to? What you're attributing that income to is, I slaved over this. I worked 2 years to get this client. You know how hard I worked, how many dinners I had to take him out, all that stuff. So what happens is you're losing focus. At the end of the day, this is Hashem that's doing this. And so what Rabbi Av says over here, the idea is that you should have from every single day, when you go out, say you're in sales, when you get onto the road, when you pick up a phone, you make a phone call, say, I'm not doing this only for the sole purpose of doing Hashem's will. I'm picking up this phone call. It doesn't matter the outcome. Because every time you pick up that phone and you make a phone call, every time you walk into a prospect's office, you are earning schus because Hashem asked you to go out and do work. He didn't say go out and make $1 million. He said just go out and do work. That's all he wants you to do. And so by you doing your part, you're already getting ahead of the game. You're already earning. And of course, at the end of the day, we want to earn money, and Hashem will take care of that. But the focus over here is that regardless of the line of work you are in, regardless of the difficulties that you might be going through, especially in these times, just remember one thing. You're doing these things, even though it's hard and it's tough and bills have to be paid, and at the end of the day, you're doing this because Hashem wants you to do it. That is what's going to carry you through and give you a lot more schus, and that schus Hashem is going to help you further. And then finally he finishes off, and this is going to finish off Perek Shlishi. It says, V'ayakshev ki tarpei ma'omar al suba yudua. And one should not think that his livelihood depends on a particular factor. Meaning, it says, V'she'im timona hasiba hi mimenu lo yova b'siba acheres. And that if that factor were to fail, there would be no other way for this person to earn a livelihood. So yesterday we touched on this example. A person is a horse and buggy salesman, and that was the main means of transportation at the time. And what happened was he lived long enough and he saw the transformation from horse and buggy to cars. Right? There's an old joke that once upon a time a poor man rode a horse and buggy and a rich man drove a car. In today's days, a poor man drives a car and only a rich man owns a horse and buggy. So we see that over time, it has nothing to do with this, just a funny joke. We see that over time things do change, and there are industries that might become obsolete. But he says over here to finish off, to focus on the concept that it's not your industry or a factor that he calls that is the reason that you're making a living. For instance, if you're I don't know, any industry, take any kind of profession, if that industry becomes obsolete, then don't think of it as in a way that you lost your livelihood. No. The same way Hashem provided you with your livelihood until now, he's going to find for you another way how to earn a livelihood. And he says it's very important to juggle that between the idea of something becoming obsolete and something just being difficult at the time. And that's what we're facing today's days. And that's what I want to finish off with. We are facing difficult times. A lot of people are struggling. A lot of businesses are struggling. Careers are struggling as a whole, not as an individual, but as a whole. And we need to understand that, and he's trying to make clear over here, it's not something that's obsolete. You need to stick it out. If something is difficult, it doesn't mean that your livelihood is gone. It just means that it's difficult for a period of time for reasons beyond our comprehension. But to stick with it. Obviously, if something is obsolete, yes, you should look for something else. Don't sit around doing nothing. And you're not only capable of one thing, you'll realize and you'll be surprised at how much you are capable of. But at the end of the day, what we take away, we're closing this whole idea over here is that whatever you do, just think that Hashem asked me to do this. Hashem asked me to get up in the morning and to go to work and to try to earn a livelihood. And again, you succeed the moment you just tried. If you don't try, that's the bad part. That's the avera, that you don't try. So everyone, you just need to stay strong. And whatever you're doing, you are winning at it because you are getting up in the morning and you're doing. That is where you are winning. The outcome hasn't been up to you till now and will never be up to you till now. But what is up to you is your choice to get up every single day and say, I am doing this l'shem shamayim. And when you do that, when you say, I'm doing this l'shem shamayim, you've won. You've earned your zechusim. Thank you, everyone, for joining us all here today, and I love you all.